by the police are being pursued by the police.
In addition, 13 other suspects identified as being connected to the cases are being pursued to assist with the investigation. The police will continue to.
Minority Leader Veronica denies being summoned, accuses some media outlets of misinformation. Former Lands and Natural Resources Minister Samuel Bujina proposes the establishment of independent regulatory agency to deal with the growing threat of illegal small-scale mining in the country. Gold Board denied claims by Member of Parliament for Tano South. It owes the Bank of Ghana an unpaid overdraft of 1 billion Ghana cedis. And in African news, South African police arrest 4 people over the murder of boxing champion Zolani Tete. This is 12 Live on Class 91.3 FM. My name is Nana Ajiman Prempe. I'm doing this with
Veronica Amade.
Right, to now our very first story. Parliament will today reconvene for a special sitting following a recall by the Speaker Alban Babin. The recall comes less than a month after the House adjourned on July 31, 2026, bringing members of Parliament back to the chamber to attend to what the Speaker has described as urgent parliamentary business. The Speaker exercises authority under Order 58, Clause 4 of the Standing Orders of Parliament, which empowers the Speaker to recall the House during an adjournment when circumstances require Parliament to resume. The decision is expected to allow MPs to deliberate on matters considered too urgent to wait until the next scheduled sitting of the House. Parliament is also expected to sit from today to Friday, August 28, during the recall period. The House is also expected to consider the nominations of Minister-designate for Local Government, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs, Mahama Ayariga, and Minister-designate for Environment, Science and Technology, Senator Ajiman Rollins.
To some other stories, the Minority Leader Alexander Veronica has denied reports by some media outlets that he has been summoned over an extortion allegation by the Gold Board CEO Sammy Gyamfi, describing the publication as misinformation and calling for an immediate correction. In a statement posted on social media, the lawmaker said the report that he had been summoned was untrue, explaining that the meeting in question was instead a routine gathering of his parliamentary colleagues ahead of reconvening of Parliament. According to him, he had summoned his colleagues for a caucus meeting to strategize and coordinate their parliamentary business ahead of the next sitting of Parliament. He stressed that such meetings are regular practice of the caucus and should not be misrepresented as a summons or any other form of disciplinary action.
Right, so Veronica, before we bring you that sound, also the Minority Leader in Parliament, Alexander Veronica, has denied reports by some media outlets that he has been summoned over an extortion allegation by the Gold Board CEO Sammy Gyamfi, describing the publication as misinformation and calling for an immediate correction. In a statement posted on social media, the lawmaker said the report that had been summoned was untrue, explaining that the meeting in question was instead a routine gathering of his parliamentary colleagues ahead of the reconvening of Parliament. According to him, he had summoned his colleagues for a caucus meeting to strategize and coordinate their parliamentary business ahead of the next sitting in Parliament. He stressed that such meetings are a regular practice of the caucus and should not be misrepresented as a summons or any other form of disciplinary action.
To some other stories, 30 police officers believed to be connected to ongoing security-related incidents are being pursued as investigations continue. Speaking at the Government Accountability Series in Accra, Interior Minister Muntaka Mohammed Mubarak said a special investigative task force is working to establish the rules of all persons connected to the cases. He said some suspects have already been arrested and put before the court, while efforts are ongoing to trace and apprehend others who remain at large. The Interior Minister assured the public that the police will continue pursuing all outstanding suspects as investigations and prosecutions progress.
One has since been discharged, while 25 are currently standing trial. Of these two additional suspects, James Kojo Ousu alias Kujos and Kwame Edutrim alias Hardman have since been arrested in connection with the lynching of the late Jacob Nlo. This brings the total number of suspects arrested in Offenso North constituency to 6, all of whom have been put before the court. In the Banda constituency case, suspect Gabriel Yao Eje alias Abode has been arrested in connection with the murder of Silas and has been arraigned before Adabraka District Court. The police are also pursuing suspects who remain at large, particularly Alhaji Latif Abdul Latif Kobshe, who is wanted on a warrant, has been published in the Police Gazette. In addition, 13 other suspects identified as being connected to the cases are being pursued to assist with the investigation. The police will continue to pursue all outstanding suspects and support the prosecution of those already before the court. The public will be duly informed of further development as the investigations and prosecution progress. And the police is also open that members of the public who have information on all these other 13 persons that are being pursued will be most welcome to provide those additional information. Minister, having said this, now I will go straight to the...
You heard the Interior Minister Muntaka Mohammed Mubarak.
Now let's do some politics. As the New Patriotic Party's NPP's national executive elections have entered the vetting stage with 50 aspirants filing to contest 11 positions. There's more in the following news desk report.
The New Patriotic Party's national executive elections have entered the nomination stage with 50 aspirants filing to compete for 11 positions as the party moves towards the vetting and selection of candidates. The positions cover 9 executive portfolios, with the top 3 candidates in the national vice chairperson category to emerge as first, second and third vice chairpersons. 5 aspirants have filed for the national chairmanship position. They are former National Chairman Paul Afoku, former General Secretary John Buedu, former Energy Minister Boachi Ejako, Sammy Crab, and former Ashanti Regional Chairman Bernard Entry Buesiako. For the General Secretary position, incumbent Frimpong Justin Kodria is seeking a second term against Eugene Boachi Entry, Sylvester Tete, and Charles Dramina. The National Vice Chairperson position has recorded the highest number of aspirants with 13 names filed for the 3 slots. The top 3 successful candidates will take up the position for first, second and third national vice chairpersons. There has also been a significant development in the National Communications Director position. Asari Bediakon has withdrawn from the nomination process and endorsed Dennis Miracle Abuaje. His decision follows consultations with family, friends, and stakeholders within the party as he considers what he describes in the best position of the party. Dennis Miracle Abuaje and Evans Kodo are now the 2 aspirants in the National Communications Directors in the National Communications Director category. The National Treasurer position has 4 aspirants, while 8 have filed for National Organizer. 3 aspirants are seeking the National Women Organizer position, 6 for the National Youth Organizer, and 5 for the National Nasara Coordinator. As the nomination process continues, attention is also turning to the vetting stage, which is scheduled for August 31 to September 3. The NPP vetting committee is scheduled to vet the aspirants from Monday, August 31 to September 3. The party is yet to announce a date for balloting. The National Officers Elections Committee says the balloting date will be announced after the completion of the vetting and any appeals arising from the process. The final list of candidates will therefore depend on the outcome of the vetting and appeal process.
Let's do some stories in education, because the Parent Teacher Association of Bolgatanga Girls Senior High School has condemned the alleged defilement of the students of the school reportedly involving 2 security personnel attached to the institution. In a press statement issued today, the PTA said it has followed recent developments and media reports with deep concern. The association says it condemns in the strongest possible terms that alleged act, stating that no child entrusted to Bolga Senior High School should suffer any form of sexual abuse or exploitation. It, however, commended the Ghana Police Service for the swift arrest of the 2 suspects and their interdiction by the Ghana Education Service, calling for full, transparent and expeditious investigations with the harshest sanctions under the law for anyone found culpable. It further called on GES, the Department of Social Welfare and relevant child protection agencies to ensure the affected students receives counseling, medical care and protection.
All right, so first and foremost, we as a council, we totally condemn this kind of acts being perpetuated in our schools, particularly that of the Bolgatanga Girls Senior High School. You know, every child must be protected in the school environment and wherever that child finds himself or herself. Therefore, incidents of this sort shouldn't be condoned at all. So the necessary law enforcement agency must take it up and then make sure that those culpable should be brought to book. Then the punitive measures should be applied so that to be a deterrent to others who may want to do such a thing. It's something we totally disagree with it and we totally condemn it. Totally. Thank you.
Well, you heard Irene Sam, who is a member of the National Parent-Teacher Association.
Now, the government has directed all state agencies to replace grid power, but before the farmers along the White Volta could be counting their losses as the Bagre Dam is likely to spill this week. The dam has been under close monitoring after an earlier expected release on August 11, 2026 did not occur. Authorities say water levels have continued to rise and the dam is now approaching the level required for spillage. Speaking to Class News, the Northeast Regional Minister Ibrahim Tia says NADMO, the military and other stakeholders have intensified preparations and sensitization in communities along the White Volta. He says the impact is expected to be felt mainly on land farms, although some low-lying communities could also be affected.
We have done enough preparations on the ground, sensitize all who are living around the White Volta, and we got enough time because the Burkina Bay authorities were looking at a level that the water will reach before they will now spill. And fortunately, for almost 2 weeks now, the water hasn't reached that level, but they are now getting very close. And we are also suspecting that in the course of the week, they are likely to open it because the water is gradually getting to the level that it will get to before they will now spill the water. We have all the relevant stakeholders, the military, NADMO, and then the citizens around the White Volta and both districts, Yaraba Kubori, East Mamprusi, and the West Mamprusi, they've all worked together to sensitize the people living around to move out of that area, I think about 10 days ago. So the place is very safe for the water to be spilled without any incident. So certainly there are no houses that are along the White Volta. It is only those who farm. So it's a bit distant. So when they even spill the water, it will not get to their homes. We only advise them not to go closer to the riverside when they do the spilling. So we don't anticipate any houses getting submerged at all as of now. Very well. You see, for the number of years that we've also experienced with regards how they always open it, it's those who farm around.
So you heard the Northeast Regional Minister Ibrahim Tia.
Let's do some other stories. The Chief Executive Officer of the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority, DVLA, Julius Nikwe Korte, has warned the public against using middlemen popularly known as Goro Boys to access services at DVLA offices. Mr. Korte said anyone found acting as intermediary at the authority's new offices will be arrested. He stressed that the DVLA would not tolerate the activities of middlemen as the authority expands its offices and brings services closer to the public. The DVLA CEO was speaking at the commissioning of a new DVLA office as part of the authority's drive to make its services more accessible.
Every office will be mandated to print cards that have been replaced. Replacement of cards is different from renewal of cards. Renewal is done every 2 years and replacement is done every 6 years. So if you are more than 6 years in the system, your card will be replaced for you and printed instant for you. But if you are coming to seek new service, to seek for a new for a driver's license, you go to the ISO specified time, which is 3 months, obtain your physical card. But if you are more than 6 years, you will get your license issued to you instant. The staff coming to occupy this office, we don't want anything like Goro over here. The mere fact that we hear of any Goro office here, we will not spread it. staff over here. No one, absolutely no one, should come and stand here and be an intermediary for our office. We don't want any Goro issues in this office. We are strategically using accessibility drive to deal with Goro, and that accessibility drive cannot be a basis to increase Goro. So please, we don't want the service of any Goro man here. Otherwise, that will lead to arrest, serious arrest.
You heard the Chief Executive Officer of the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority, Julius Nikwe.
Now, the former Lands and Natural Resources Minister Samuel Abujinapo is urging government to consider establishing an independent regulatory agency to deal with the growing threat of illegal small-scale mining in the country. For centuries, illegal mining has plagued the economy of Ghana, with successive governments failing to deal with the issue holistically. The effect of what is popularly known as galamsey is far unreaching, with several of the country's water bodies polluted, consequently posing threat to communities that rely on them as source of drinking water. Speaking at the launch of the Ghana Pact of the Justice in Critical Minerals Governance and Energy Transition, former Lands and Natural Resources Minister lamented failure of successive governments to deal with the issue of galamsey, partly attributing it to the lack of political will.
Deep and professorial question, but my answer to it will be very simple. The thing about the mining industry, particularly as it relates to small-scale mining and the age-old problem of illegal small-scale mining, i.e. galamsey, from where I sit and having been involved for the 4 years that I was minister, it is a much more deeper, complicated canker than many observers and pundits tend to want to accept. And if you want to understand the point I'm making, or the evidence to that, is that from the time it became a big issue, every now and again commitments are made, but not sufficient progress is achieved. And you can tell that today we are in a different regime. The issues are not different from when I was probably in there. If at all, maybe things are probably even, I won't say getting out of hand, but it's becoming much more a difficult situation. So what will I do differently if I was to relive that life? I think I would have made a proposal to the government or the cabinet that it's about time that we set up an independent body, which is, if you want, independent of the government, to be responsible for dealing with illegal small-scale mining. And I don't know if I'm making sense, but let me just explain. I'm saying that we probably should have a body which doesn't sit within the executive, which is kind of independent of the executive, which is backed by law, an act of parliament or whatever legal framework or architecture we can put together to back that body. That will be responsible for the enforcement component of illegal small-scale mining. The government can still retain the authority pursuant to the provisions of the Constitution, where the president holds these minerals in trust for the people in terms of granting mining leases and licenses and whatever. But the enforcement of the rules and regulations relating to the mining sector, I will say that we should have an independent body to do that, because by and large it's becoming clear that government upon government are getting somehow constrained or handicapped for multiple reasons.
So you hear the former Lands and Natural Resources Minister Samuel Abujinapo.
Let's do some stories in gold. The Ghana Gold Board has denied claims by the Member of Parliament for Tano South, Dr. Gideon Boako, that the Gold Board owes the Bank of Ghana an unpaid overdraft of 1 billion Ghana cedis. In a statement issued a while ago, Gold Board said claim is totally false and forms part of the deliberate and malicious smear campaign against the Gold Board. It said the Gold Board has never at any time since its establishment taken a loan, overdraft or any debt instruments from the Bank of Ghana or any financial institution whatsoever.
Now, the government has directed all state agencies to replace grid-powered street lights with solar-powered systems. The decision follows a recent incident at the end of the motorway where traffic lights went off after underground cables serving the installations were removed. The incident was initially blamed on the Electricity Company of Ghana (ECG), but Roads and Highways Minister Kwame Gavin-Saboja says investigations showed that the problem was not related to the ECG. The minister said the directive is aimed at addressing recurring streetlight failures, including those caused by the removal of underground cables. He said agencies undertaking new projects or replacing existing streetlights have been instructed to install solar-powered systems instead of grid-connected lights.
The traffic lights at the Tema end of the motorway went off and everybody was crying. How come the lights are off? The easiest thing to do is to blame ECG. It turns out it has nothing to do with ECG. Some miscreants, as you said, went and removed all the cables underground and the thing went off. We need to now pay a new contractor to completely rewire the thing. So as a result, we've been discussing, government has taken a decision to replace all street lights with solar. Because you see, with solar, even if one is damaged, the others can work. We have directed that all our agencies, all the replacement and new project you are doing, no more electricity powered, or no, when I say electricity, main grid powered street light. We are going full hog on solar. And the Ministry of Energy, Honorable Jinapo, is leading that across the country. So anytime we get, we need to replace any street light, don't go ahead and do the wiring. Just get to your agency head in Accra, and then they will work with the Ministry of Energy to replace them with solar ones.
The minister also gave contractors on the Accra-Kumasi bypass an ultimatum to return to site by end of August or indicate that they will no longer be interested in the project, or they will no longer have interest in the project. He says outstanding compensation issues are expected to be resolved next week. The minister also disclosed that the project cost has risen from an initial 1.9 billion Ghana cedis to almost 6 billion cedis, with the government currently assessing the actual cost of complete.
The opportunity to encourage every single contractor working on the Accra-Kumasi bypass as a matter of urgency, get back to site or tell us you are no longer interested. And that deadline is end of this month. If you don't get back to site, it means you are no longer interested. I know many of them would have loved to go back, but because of this issue about compensation and other things, which you are going to address next week, once that is done, we expect all the contractors to be back on site, because every contractor working on Accra-Kumasi bypass is a big push contractor as well. He's working elsewhere, so there's no reason. Yes, the 1.9 billion original project cost is now almost 6 billion. It's now almost 6 billion, which is a significant amount of money. And sometimes when people talk about this, they just talk without looking at the numbers. Government has never stopped the contractor from working. We're just working out what will be the true cost of completing it. And who would have imagined that a project that started as 1.9 billion is now 6 billion. How did we get it wrong? We didn't get it wrong politically. The previous government didn't get it wrong politically. There was not enough work done to determine the right cost of the project. We rushed into it, and unfortunately, the NDC under President Mahama will now have to do the heavy lifting by correcting that. And that is what governance is about.
Kwame Gavin-Saboja is the Minister of Roads and Highways.
Let's move to agriculture, because the government has reiterated its commitment to transforming rural economies, with road infrastructure and post-harvest management identified as key priorities for unlocking the agricultural potential of the Bono East region. Vice President Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, during a visit to Atebubu, she said poor roads in farming communities continue to affect local commerce and increase transportation costs, stressing the need for improved road networks to support agriculture. Professor Opoku-Agyeman also commended progress on key road projects in the region, which are expected to improve links between farming communities.
In a farming community, a bad road is not simply an inconvenience. Government has therefore placed road infrastructure at the center of the Big Push program. Here in Bono East, work is progressing on roads, including the first phase. This is particularly important because agriculture remains central to the local economy. Our farmers produce maize, yam, and other crops for this municipality and for other markets beyond it. The task is not simply to produce more. We must reduce post-harvest losses, improve storage and market access, support processing, and ensure that farming provides better and more reliable incomes.
And that was Vice President Professor Jane Nana Opokwa-Juma. Now, let's move on to some other stories. The Solar Tuna Kalba District Assembly has supported 162 persons living with disabilities with livelihood equipment and cash grant to improve their livelihoods. The support provided under the disability component of the District Assembly's Common Fund is intended to help beneficiaries start or expand their businesses and become economically independent. The District Chief Executive Sinka Saka says beneficiaries must use the support responsibly and serve as examples that disability does not limit productivity. He says the Social Welfare Department will monitor their progress and provide additional training where necessary. The DCA is also calling for a greater inclusion of persons living with disabilities in markets, leadership and decision making.
Our beneficiaries must know that this comes with responsibility. They should use these items and cash grant to start and expand their businesses and also train others. They should be examples and they should be examples that disability is not inability and limitation to productivity. And should be reminded that the Social Welfare Department will follow up to monitor progress and provide additional training where needed. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let us commit to inclusion. Let's build ramps, not barriers, and let's give PWDs access to market, leadership, decision making, and inclusion among.
And that was the District Chief Executive at Solar Tuna Kalba District, Sinkana Saka.
Now, in African news, 4 people have been arrested in South Africa in connection with the medal of boxing champion Zolani Tete, who was shot dead outside his home on Friday. Tete, 38, was gunned down in what has been described as an ambush in Imdantani, Eastern Cape. A young woman who was with him was also shot and is in hospital. One of the men being held, a 22-year-old who was arrested on Saturday, will make an initial appearance in court today and faces murder and attempted murder charges. Tete held the WBO bantamweight title from 2017 to 2019, as well as the IBF super flyweight title in 2014. He was later given a 4-year ban, which lapsed in July this year. The remaining suspects, who were arrested on Sunday, are due in court on Tuesday. 2 have been charged with unlawful possession of firearms and ammunition. It is unclear whether they will also be charged with murder and attempted murder. So that's it for 12 Live here on Class 91.3 FM and our affiliates across the country. The news was live on Whole FM 92.5 in the Volta region, that one FM 102.5. We are also live in radio. We are also live on Radio 192.1 in the Upper West region, Radio Power 96 in Spain, and across the world and on classfmonline.com as well as Facebook. My name is Nanajman Prempen. I did this with
Veronica Amade.
Good afternoon.